Battlefield 3 become some sort of like official sport, because I swear in that game alone I think I had my tags taken about 10 times. I got my arse completely and utterly raped in that game. But my name is Westy, and today we're going to be talking a little bit more about Battlefield 4. And today we're going to be talking about sort of a wish list, but kind of sort of a fantasy wish list. Something that we know is definitely not going to happen, but something that I would love it to be brought back to Battlefield 4. Perhaps just sort of rekindling memories from previous Battlefield games, and then bringing them into Battlefield 4. I'm sort of just going to do like a top 5 and then just sort of let you guys in the comments below list as many other things that you'd like to see return in Battlefield 4. They can obviously be sort of realistic, but this video is specifically aimed at things that really aren't going to be brought back into Battlefield 4. So let's kick straight in. Now, number 1. It's a lesser known vehicle from the original Bad Company game, which was specifically used on one map of the multiplayer called Par for the Course. Now, everybody knows the Bad Company series is a little bit more relaxed than the main Battlefield series, and that's sort of reflected in this map, Par for the Course, because it is pretty much a golf course as a map. And the tiny little vehicles that you could drive around on it were, of course, the golf carts. I had so much fun just whizzing around the golf course in Bad Company in these little things. The physics for the vehicles were, I don't really know what they were, because they're quite tall. Obviously you can't do sharp turns, otherwise the thing would fall over, but that's in real life. But in Battlefield, literally just sharp turns, instantly you would just turn around and go back the other way. There wouldn't even be a sway in the vehicle at all. It was just a brilliant vehicle to drive, and it got you from A to B, but it was a damn good laugh. Now, number 2 on my list is perhaps more likely to happen than any other of the 5 in this list, but I'm going to go out there and say it. I love ghillie suits in Bad Company 2, and I really want those to return in Battlefield 4. If you think of the recon characters we have at the moment, they are quite simple and they're quite plain as well, and they don't vary from each faction in Battlefield 3 between the Russians and the US particularly. Now, there are rumours in Battlefield 4 that there are going to be 3 playable factions. However, that is still not confirmed yet. So we pretty much know the US are going to be in there, because obviously EA is an American company and they're going to want to have the US winning all the battles in it. So that's pretty much a given. So we could be seeing ghillie suits, and I would personally love to see them in Battlefield 4. I don't really know why, it just gave a little bit more of an authentic feeling to Battlefield Bad Company 2, especially when you could see recons sort of running from bush to bush, rather than just having sort of recons in normal clothing, like normal sort of medic gear or normal support gear, just moving through a map. It gave you a little bit more feeling that you were actually in a real battle when you saw all of the snipers in ghillie suits. Okay, so the next thing on my wish list is free DLC. Now, this is a complete and utter long shot, as we already know that Battlefield 4 is going to have a premium aspect to it, much the same way that Battlefield 3 did. But I would like to think that DICE and EA could maybe sort of scramble together some DLC that would be free for everybody. If you think about how Bad Company 2 did DLC, I think it was a VIP system where if you pre-ordered the game or got the limited edition version of the game, you got all the DLC for free. And I thought that was a great deal, because it basically meant that you were going to get free stuff all the way through the life cycle of the game. But when Battlefield 3 came in, we saw a premium system arise where you then have to fork out another £40 in order to get access to 5 DLCs that with Bad Company 2 you would have got for free. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I don't mind the premium aspect of Battlefield now, where they're making us pay for DLCs, but I'd like to see some portions of it perhaps made free for a certain amount of time, where you could pick it up for only 48 hours and then play, much the same way that Steam does sort of multiplayer weekends, where they make the multiplayer portion of a game free for one weekend, and then you can play that game for 48 hours without having to pay for anything. I'd like to see a system like that in Battlefield 4, perhaps when the first DLC comes out, that for the first 2 days everybody has access to that DLC, even if they didn't buy it. And then if you've got access to Premium, then you continue to have access to that DLC. But if you don't have Premium, then they take that away from you. I think it would be kind of like a taster sort of session, where you could find out whether you like that DLC or not before you actually buy it. And also, it means that you don't have to fork out money if you don't want to. I remember with the release of Close Quarters in the Battlefield 3 Premium, a lot of people weren't sort of interested in that DLC, and they thought it wasn't really worth it because they haven't played it as much as they have the other DLCs. So perhaps this premium aspect could sort of tell you whether you're going to like this DLC and whether you should buy it or not. Number 4 on my list. I don't know about you guys, but I love playing vanilla maps on Battlefield 3. But what really gets me every time is that pretty much every server has instant vehicle respawn, or has a low vehicle respawn second count. I like playing in a match where I know I'm not going to get constantly sort of hit down on by an attack helicopter that got taken down but has instantly respawned and someone else has jumped in it. I like playing in a game where we can have just a small amount of time to regroup and then sort of move on to the next objective or carry on defending the one we're already at. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I'd like some dedicated servers for the PC side of Battlefield 4, because I know there are a lot of console sort of servers that are dedicated around sort of DICE sort of settings, and I think there are a few official DICE servers still out there as well, along with all the renter servers that have now popped up for Battlefield 3. But yeah, I'd really like to see some sort of specific dedicated servers playing the vanilla maps, playing vanilla settings for Battlefield 4. I don't think it's going to happen because a lot of people like customization in first person shooters nowadays, but for me personally it's something I'd really like to see. And number 5 on my list, and perhaps this is the one I most want. I know it's kind of small when I tell you about this, but for me it made a huge difference. In Bad Company 2, motion balls. The way that you could sort of throw essentially a Battlefield 3 tugs at people or at your enemy or in an area that you wanted to sort of highlight the mini-map, you could do that. Go back to an ammo crate, pick up a few more. They would turn off around the map, and as you threw more, those ones would light up. It was basically a mobile tugs, and it was great because it meant that you could actually move around the map, and it encouraged you to not camp in corners or in buildings or on roofs and stuff like that. Plus it helped out your team tremendously because the recon class in Bad Company 2 was much more powerful. You could actually use the G3A3 that we have in Battlefield 3 in the recon class, and it was an extremely powerful gun. Tie that with the tugs, or even if you're going to use a bolt action sniper, the hip fire accuracy of bolt action snipers in Bad Company 2 was insane. But tie those with the motion balls and you had a really good setup going on. You could be helping out your team, spotting them all over the map, and because the recons wore the ghillie suits, they looked badass while they're doing it, and you looked pretty good in a kill cam if you got some hip fire sort of scope round the corner whilst you're using your motion balls. Basically, the recon class in Bad Company 2, put that in Battlefield 4, please. But anyway, that's my top 5 things that I would love to see in Battlefield 4. Perhaps they're not going to happen, maybe they are a little bit more likely than I thought, having now told you guys about them. But what do you guys want in Battlefield 4? What are some of the things that you really loved from old Battlefield games in the series that you want to see in this brand new title? I think it's important that we try and get our ideas out there as much as we can, because DICE might actually be listening and they may actually include some of this stuff. So make sure you put it all down in the comments, guys, and I'll try and reply to as many as I can. But that's the end of this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you really did, don't forget to give me a like, as it helps me sort of figure out what videos you guys like. My name is Westy, and I'll see you guys in the next video.